It was the 3:27 a.m. The glow from the multiple monitors paints the room in sickly greens and blues. A timer ticks down in the corner of the screen, hidden beneath layers of encrypted software. The air conditioner strains against the heat generated by the hardware, a low, persistent hum that feels like a trapped insect. What is being traded in this stolen hour, under this artificial light, is not cryptocurrency or rare earth minerals, but something far more intimate, far more dangerous, the very essence of another person's life. How does a digital ghost become a tangible asset worth thousands? And what happens when the identity you bought finally logs in? The answer arrives with a soft ping of a successful transfer. A pristine, verified digital footprint, complete with a clean medical history and a passport photo that isn't yours, is now officially up for auction. The first time the digital key was turned, it wasn't a moment of malice, but one of profound desperation. It started not in a dark alley, but in the sterile, echoing halls of a Midwestern state university. The student, young, ambitious, carrying the weight of parental expectation, watched the acceptance letters dwindle, the debt accumulating faster than the potential scholarship offers. The system felt rigged, a locked door. Then came the whispers, faint at first, like static between radio frequencies, leading down the digital rabbit hole, promising an end to the struggle. The lure wasn't criminality, it was access. Access to a life where the first hurdle wasn't the application fee, but the basic truth of who you were. The initial transaction wasn't for a full identity, just a placehold, whole or high-level academic profile, a convincing set of forged transcripts, enough to get the foot in the door. The clicks of the keyboard then felt heavy, deliberate, each one an irreversible step away from the familiar. The seller, communicating only through obfuscated chat protocols, assured the buyer, "Everyone does it, it's just data management." But data management rarely involves the complete erasure of the original owner. The architecture of this underground market is meticulously structured, far removed from the chaotic image of a back-alley deal. Think of it as a dark reflection of Amazon, complete with user ratings, tiered membership levels, and ironclad escrow services. The primary marketplace, the one everyone speaks of in hushed, encrypted tones, isn't accessible by typing a URL. It requires specific, layered navigation through forgotten pathways of the network. The currency used is almost always untraceable digital tokens, the value fluctuating wildly based on the perceived stability of the underlying information being sold. Consider the classification system. Level 1 identities are usually basic, comprising stolen social security numbers and expired driver's licenses. Cheap, easily flagged, but useful for low-level financial fraud. Level 3, however, represents the apex predator of the market. These are the full dossiers. A full dossier contains everything: biometric data points, confirmed employment history stretching back a decade, established credit scores, and crucially a verified digital footprint across multiple essential services, banking, healthcare, even gym memberships. These identities are not merely fabricated, they are migrated. The theft begins with exploiting vulnerabilities in large, trusted institutions: a hospital network breach, a university HR database dump, or the compromise of a mid-tier cloud storage provider. The data is painstakingly scrubbed of its original owner's activity, then meticulously seeded with false, yet plausible, new history. Think of the sheer computational power required to create a digital ghost that can withstand basic identity verification checks, the kind that happen instantaneously when you apply for a new phone plan or rent a car. We are now deep inside the auction phase. A specific target identity, designated Aquila Prime, is up for bidding. The starting price is staggering: 50,000 digital tokens. The description scrolling past the screen is chillingly brief: clean slate, age 34, STEM professional, unused recent tax filings, excellent credit collateral. The competition is fierce, not just from individual opportunists, but from organized syndicates, groups specializing in long-term financial infiltration. A rapid succession of bids floods the virtual room. The system tracks the bids in real time, the numbers climbing higher with the cold efficiency of a stock exchange ticker. One bidder, known only by the handle #FOO_NACLX, pauses, perhaps verifying the linked metadata through a secondary, private channel. The stakes are existential. Acquiring Aquila Prime means not just financial gain, but escaping the confines of one's own failing reality. It means walking out of the shadows and into a life already validated by the digital world. The final bid locks in at 78,000 tokens, a price that reflects the sheer rarity of a truly clean, high-value identity bundle. The transfer is confirmed. Aquila Prime is no longer a collection of data points, it is someone's new existence. The knowledge gap deepens. Who are the primary targets of these identity thefts? It's not always the wealthy or the famous. The most valuable identities are often those who blend perfectly into the background. Mid-career professionals, recent immigrants with established credit but low public visibility, or individuals who have recently passed away, their digital trails left dormant and easily overwritten. The irony is cruel. The more unremarkable your life is, the more valuable your credentials become on the black market, because they are less likely to trigger immediate security alerts. The thieves aren't looking for celebrities whose security is tight. They are looking for the accountant in suburban Ohio whose password rotation policy hasn't been updated since 2012. The system of identity laundering is almost as sophisticated as the theft itself. Once an identity is purchased, the buyer cannot immediately use the full credentials. That would trigger immediate flags. Instead, they undergo a slow, deliberate integration process. Small purchases, utility payments made under the new name, minor online registrations. Each action is calculated to build a new, synthetic history that conforms to the established profile. It's digital mimicry, requiring patience and absolute adherence to the purchased persona. Fail to maintain the facade, and the entire structure collapses, resulting in identity nullification, a state where the purchased life is suddenly deemed invalid by every centralized database. Back to the initial transaction, the desperation that drove the first buyer. That young student, armed now with the credentials of a successful, albeit fictional, aerospace engineer, began to live a double life. By day, submitting applications under the guise of the engineer, receiving interview requests that were bafflingly real. By night, the constant nagging fear that the real engineer, the actual person whose life had been digitized and sold, would surface. This is the central terror of the black market for credentials. The purchased identity always casts a shadow over the buyer. The market feeds on anonymity, but every digital action leaves a trace, a residue. The true central mystery of this trade isn't how the data is stolen, which is well-documented exploitation of systemic weaknesses. The real mystery, the one that haunts every purchaser, is what happens when the original owner discovers the theft, not through a bank alert, but through a bizarre coincidence, a job interview for their own former position, or a tax audit for income they never earned. The climax arrives subtly, not with an alarm, but with an email notification on the engineer's new, clean laptop. It's an automated message from a major financial institution, one the engineer had never interacted with, but Aquila Prime had been an established customer of. The subject line reads "Security Alert, unusual activity detected on linked external account." The buyer feels a cold spike of adrenaline. They click the link, using the newly acquired biometric key for access. The system demands a multi-factor authentication code sent to a phone number listed on the original profile, the real owner's number. For the first time, the two realities collide. The fabricated life hits a wall built by the genuine one. The digital ghost has encountered its original host. The screen flickers, the green glow of the monitors suddenly seeming harsh and interrogative. The knowledge gap is being violently closed, not by the buyer, but by the victim. The timer in the corner, which had been counting down to a successful identity integration, now starts a new countdown. 1. Measuring the time until the authorities, or worse, the original owner's own sophisticated security team, trace the intrusion back through the digital ether, back to the strained hum of the overloaded air conditioner and the person staring back from the poisoned reflection on the screen. The identity auction is over, but the true cost is just now being calculated.